Hello students, welcome back to the official page of Read My Course. I'm your biology teacher Dr. Shatabdi, and today in this session we will be studying about the mechanism of breathing. So let's begin with our class. First of all, we need to have an idea about the steps which are involved in respiration. The first step is breathing or pulmonary ventilation, in which the atmospheric air is drawn in and carbon dioxide rich alveolar air is released out. Then we have gaseous diffusion, which basically takes place across the alveolar membrane or the membrane of the alveolus. Then we have gaseous transport, which is mainly taking place by the circulation. Then we have diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide between blood and the tissues or the cells. That is, cellular respiration is happening. Then we have utilization of oxygen by the cells for catabolic reactions and the resultant release of carbon dioxide. Right? So, in this chapter, we will basically be dealing with the pulmonary ventilation as well as the gaseous diffusion or gaseous exchange. Now, what is inspiration? Inspiration we have already studied in the last class. It is the drawing in of the atmospheric air, and what is expiration? It is the releasing of the pulmonary or the alveolar air from the lungs into the atmosphere. We know this. One important thing that we need to know is that the intrapulmonary pressure is a very important has a very important role to play in this process of breathing in and breathing out of air. What is intrapulmonary pressure? Intrapulmonary pressure means the pressure present within the lungs. Now, just apply a common sense. When we are speaking of atmospheric air, it is fixed, right? At certain levels, it is fixed, right? Now, the pressure inside our lungs, right? Is that fixed? Remember that the pressure inside our lungs is not fixed. It can be increased or decreased depending upon the expansion or the relaxation of the chest cavities. So, do the lungs themselves have any mechanism for expansion and relaxation? No, they don't. They basically depend on the expansion and relaxation of the thoracic cavities or the chest cavities. Any kind of expansion or relaxation happening in the thoracic cavity or chest cavity is reflected in the lung volume or the lung capacity. This further results in an increase or decrease or rise or fall in the pulmonary pressure or the pressure in the lungs, okay, which finally leads to inspiration or expiration of air. In other simple terms, when the atmospheric pressure is lower than the pressure in our lungs, then what is happening? Air will always move from a pressure area of high pressure to a area of low pressure. We know this. So, when the atmospheric pressure is lower than the intrapulmonary pressure, then we expire. That is, air is moving from our lungs into the atmosphere. That is, we are expiring the air. Okay. Similarly, when the pressure in the atmosphere, that is, the atmospheric pressure, is higher than the intrapulmonary pressure, that is, the pressure in our lungs, then what is happening? Because the atmospheric pressure is higher than the pressure in our lungs, we are inspiring in the air. That is, the air is moving from an area of high pressure outside to the area of low pressure inside our lungs. That is, we are inspiring the air. So, this is the basic process of inspiration and expiration. Okay. Another important thing that we need to know over here is the movement of the diaphragm. We know that the diaphragm is the muscle which is present at the as a lower boundary to the thoracic cavity. See this picture over here. When we are inspiring or taking in the air, what happens is this diaphragm, see, this diaphragm is contracting, it is moving downwards. From dome shaped, it is becoming flat. As a result, what is happening? See, the space in the lungs is increasing. The volume in the lungs is increasing. Then what is happening? The pressure in the lungs is falling because the volume has increased. As a result, we are able to inspire or take in air from the atmosphere. Okay. Similarly, see this picture. After contraction has been done, the diaphragm is again moving back to its original dome shape. That is, it is relaxing. So when the diaphragm is relaxing, it has moved upwards to its dome shaped. Previously it was flat, now it has again moved upward and become dome shaped. So what has happened is, see, the volume inside the lungs has decreased. So the pressure has increased. When the pressure has increased, what is happening? Air is moving from the lungs into the outside. Okay. So I think this much is clear. And this is how the movement of the diaphragm plays a very important role in expiration and inspiration of air. With that, we move to the next slide. So, is the diaphragm the only muscle which is involved in respiration? No. There are other muscles also which are present between the ribs. They are known as the intercostal muscles. There are two such sets of muscles. One is the internal intercostal muscles and the external intercostal muscles. Okay. So, how they function, we will study in the next slide. For the time being, remember this much, that diaphragm and the intercostal muscles, the external intercostals and the internal intercostals, these sets of muscles are the core muscles which are involved in the process of inspiration and expiration. Besides these, we have some accessory muscles also. For example, the abdominal muscles, okay, the quadratus laborum muscles. These we do not need to know so much in details. If you can remember the names, it's okay. If you cannot remember the names, it's also fine, right? We need to know the functioning of the core muscles, that is the intercostals and the diaphragm. Now, remember one thing, that in case of inspiration, which intercostal muscle is helping? The external intercostal muscles are helping in inspiration. And in expiration, the internal intercostal muscles are used. What I do is, so that I just get mixed up with all this. So in order to remember what I do, I'll tell you so that you can also apply the same thing. See, inspiration begins with I, whereas external intercostal begins with E. Again, expiration begins with I and internal intercostal begins with I. So I remember it in this way, that I'll write it down here for you. See, I for inspiration, it is not for I. This I stands for what? This I stands for the internal intercostals. I not for I. That means inspiration is not with the help of internal intercostals. Inspiration is the help of external intercostals. Right? And the rest you can remember. So I not for I. Okay. I think in this way, if you just make some synonyms or things like that, it will become easy for you to remember these things. Okay. I use them, and I would suggest you to do the same so that you can remember them after a long time, right? So moving to the next slide, I told you that there is a mechanism how the intercostal muscles are functioning. Okay, and how they are helping about in this inspiration and expiration. I'll try to explain to you. See, yes. Now we know that the lungs are placed inside the thoracic cage or the rib cage. At the sides we have the ribs, in the front we have the sternum, at the back we have the vertebral column or the spine. So this is the whole bony structure inside which the lungs are present. Right? Now have a look at this picture. Have a look at the first picture. What happens is, when we are inspiring, that is when we are taking in the air, we need the muscles to, what is happening is, the ribs are becoming almost horizontal. Now when the ribs are becoming horizontal, the space in the lungs is increasing. And how do these ribs become horizontal? These ribs are mainly becoming horizontal because of the functioning of the external intercostals. Remember, external intercostals are useful in inspiration, right? Okay. Similarly, when we are expiring, see, there is a downward and backward movement of the ribs. As a result, what is happening? The space or the volume of the lungs are collapsing to certain extent. It is decreasing. The space is decreasing, right? Mainly this happens because of this internal intercostal. See, they are helping in the downward movement. Okay, as a result, what is happening? The volume is decreasing. When the volume is decreasing, what is happening? The pressure is increasing and we need to expire the air outside. Right? So this is how there is a function of the internal and the external intercostals which work together, coordinate and work together and pull and stretch the rib cage in such a way that there is space expansion or space contraction, ultimately leading to inspiration or expiration of air. With that, we move to the next slide. So this is just a gist of the whole thing which we have studied till now. What is happening? See the picture at the top. What is happening? See, the diaphragm is contracting. Diaphragm is contracting means it is becoming flat. Then what is happening? The ribs and the sternum are raised. See, the ribs and the sternum are raised. All these things, what happens is the volume inside the lungs is increasing. As a result, the outside air is moving in. Inspiration, right? What about expiration? Expiration, the diaphragm is released. As a result, it moves back again to its arched position. Whenever it moves back again to its arched position, the ribs and the sternum are again collapsing or returning to their original position. There is a decrease in volume inside the lungs. As a result, what is happening? Air is moving out. That is, expiration is happening. I would suggest that after attending this class, you go back and just have a good read from your NCERT books, because in the NCERT books, it is written very clearly along with this diagram. This diagram is a direct pick from the NCERT book. So if you follow the diagrams, if you follow the writings, and if you go through this class, you will be very much clear about what concepts I am trying to tell you, right? With that, we move to the next slide. Yes, gaseous exchange. Now, this takes place basically in the alveolus or the alveoli as we call it. So, what is happening? See, alveolus or alveoli, we have the capillary blood capillary network over here, and oxygen moves in from the atmospheric air into the bloodstream, and carbon dioxide diffuses out from the bloodstream into the alveoli, right? So this basically takes place by a process of diffusion, both oxygen moving in and carbon dioxide moving out. This oxygen is further helpful in aerobic respiration, and carbon dioxide, from where it is coming, this carbon dioxide is basically a waste product of respiration, right? Now, we were talking about gaseous exchange which is taking place in the alveolus. So the epithelium lining the alveolus can be differentiated into two basic types. One is the pneumocytes type 1 and the other is the pneumocytes type 2. Okay. Now, the pneumocytes type 1 are mainly responsible for this exchange of gases of CO2 and oxygen. And this type 2 pneumocytes, they produce certain proteins which reduce the surface tension of the alveolus and therefore prevent them from collapsing. Because if the alveoli collapse, then the surface area which will be available for gaseous exchange will be reduced. As a result, the ability to diffuse oxygen and carbon dioxide in and out will get reduced to some extent. Okay. Now, I want you to, though this part is not in your syllabus, but I want you to know something, because we all know that coronavirus has just engulfed the world. So, I want you to know one important fact, that this coronavirus, this SARS-CoV-2 virus has receptors which can bind to this type 2 pneumocytes in the lungs. And as a result, what happens is the surface tension in the alveoli increases. They collapse. Their ability to undergo gaseous exchange reduces, right? And as a result, the ability of the lungs to respire or to provide sufficient amount of oxygen for all the metabolic activities to take place in our body at a cellular level is reduced. So this SARS-CoV-2 virus has receptors which are specific for type 2 pneumocytes in the lungs. Okay, and that is why this we are noticing so many of pulmonary, you can say, symptoms occurring, lung symptoms occurring in case of these COVID positive patients. Okay, with that information, we come to the last slide. Yes, so just remember one important interesting fact, that on an average a human breathes about 12 to 16 times per minute, right? That brings us to the end of this session. In the next class, we will be reading about in the details of exchange of gases. In this class, we have just studied a gist of the action of alveolus in gaseous exchange. In the next class, we will be reading into details about it. Till then, stay safe guys, take care. If you like this video, then please do like, share, subscribe. Comment in the comment section below. Let us know how you feel about the classes. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us. We will be more than glad to answer them for you. And stay tuned guys, and let's meet in our next class. Bye.